everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, and of course on Sirius XM, ESPN Radio, channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Jam-packed show coming your way today. Gonna get into a little NBA talk later with LeBron and the Cavs getting blown out in Cleveland, how bad things truly are in Cleveland, Ohio, and whether or not they're going to even make it out of the East. The Golden State Warriors, do they have real, legitimate competition out West? There's a story that's circulating now from Adrian Wojnarowski for ESPN and others, talking about problems with Kawhi Leonard and San Antonio Spurs management. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the show as well, but we all know where we have to start off this show. We all know where we have to end this show. We all know what we should be thinking about on a day like today. Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis will take place, and it will be a rematch of Super Bowl 39, where the Philadelphia Eagles went up against the New England Patriots. Back then, Donovan McNabb was your quarterback. T.O. was your wide receiver in Philadelphia. But Brady and Belichick and Robert Kraft, the owner, was still in place for the New England Patriots. Go from 2004 to 2018, and the same three-headed monster still exists in New England. But you got a different coach in Doug Peterson instead of Andy Reid. You got a different quarterback, and it ain't even Carson Wentz. It's Nick Foles. And you've got, obviously, some requisite weapons that ain't Terrell Owens. But the question is, would they need to be? This is what the situation comes down to as far as I'm concerned. I saw a thriller in Foxborough, Massachusetts yesterday afternoon. Tom Brady is just sensational. There's just no other way around it, ladies and gentlemen. When there's a way, if there's a way to get something done and to come out on top, he'll find it. It's just that simple. Down 20-10. One touchdown to Danny Amendola. Another touchdown to Danny Amendola. This is in the aftermath of Rob Gronkowski going down with that concussion off of that hit from Barry Church, a former Cowboy with Jacksonville. And what you had was a situation where the New England Patriots went up 24-20, and then you were looking for Blake Bortles, 23 of 36 for 293 yards on the season, although sacked 3 times, still threw a touchdown. Okay, did not throw any interceptions. Blake Bortles did not play bad. He did not play bad. The issue is that when it was really time to step up and get something done, a sack by Harrison derailed him. The absence of a running game derailed him. The fact that he didn't use his wheels, his motors, to make plays with his feet derailed him. And of course, his throw neutralized and nullified through the outstretched arms of Patriots cornerback Stephon Gilmore ultimately ended it. You could say that ended it. That's just technically, but literally speaking, the Patriots still could have given up the ball. Jacksonville had to make sure to deny them a first down. And on plays 1 and 2, first down, second down, they couldn't do anything. On third and like 7 or 8, you're expecting them to throw the ball to get that first down. Josh McDaniels has Tom Brady hand it off to Damian Lewis, and what happens? He scampers for 18 yards, gets a first down, even has Bill Belichick in jubilation, clapping his hands and throwing his arms in the air triumphantly. And as a result, the New England Patriots walk away with another AFC championship, 24-20. Now, there's several things to pull out from this. And one that stands above the crowd is obviously the fact that while the Jacksonville Jaguars were penalized 6 times for 98 yards, the New England Patriots were called for 1 penalty all afternoon long for 10 yards. Now, I do recall a play where Patrick Chung, with about 6:30 left, was holding Mercedes Lewis. This is after New England scores. And Jacksonville has the ball, and they can drive, and they can find themselves getting the first down, chewing more time off of the clock and neutralizing New England more, but Patrick Chung didn't get called for the holding penalty against Mercedes Lewis, but I don't want to hear that. It happens. Obviously, in the first half, when A.J. Bouye, your cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, gets called for a pass interference with Tom Brady trying to connect to Brandon Cooks. Some people thought it was a bogus pass interference call. Others, like my colleague at 98.7 FM in New York, Mr. Greg Canty, former New York Giant, knows his football. He pointed out, hey, Bouye was using his body and forced the smaller Cooks out of bounds. And that might have had something to do with that pass interference call because he didn't look back until the end. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, hey, you're looking at it and you're saying, you know what, it might have been pass interference. Because that helped the New England Patriots ultimately put 10 points on the board before the half. You can look at it that way. You can't summarily dismiss that notion. I'm thinking about Lambeau hitting field goals. I'm thinking about a holding penalty that was called against Jacksonville. Or was it a delay of game? I'm trying to remember when they had an opportunity to go up 17-3 at the time and they missed that opportunity. But no matter where you look at it, several instances where Jacksonville just didn't close the deal, didn't get it done. Me personally, I thought they got a bit too conservative in the second half. I thought Doug Marrone got conservative. I thought he imitated the Atlanta Falcons a little bit. When they were up 28-3 on the Patriots, you got to keep scoring. Tom Brady is on the other side of the field. You beat New England by keeping on scoring. You don't beat them by being satisfied with the points that you get and saying, okay, we're safe. Our defense, we can just rely on them to stop Tom Brady. That's not how you beat the New England Patriots. It is not how you beat Tom Brady because that's not going to work. You beat him by making sure that you continue to play your game and put points on the board. That's not what they did. And in my opinion, that has a lot to do with why they lost this game. All you could muster was a field goal in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. That's all you could do after putting up 14 points in the second quarter if you're Jacksonville. You've got the momentum. You're up 14-3. And then all of a sudden, Brady sits up there and hands the ball off to James White for a 1-yard touchdown run. And there you have it. But even then, Lambeau kicks a 54-yard field goal in the third quarter. He kicks another 43-yarder in the fourth. You're up 20-10. What's the problem? Especially with Gronk out. And you haven't had Julian Edelman all year long. You know that with a Ramsey, with a Bouye, you've got corners on the outside, others in your secondary to help you out. You're not beating Jacksonville with that speed, that athleticism, and the hitmen they have on the defensive side of the ball. You're not beating Jacksonville when all you have to go on is the outside of the field. You're not doing it. So if you know that they can't go outside on you because New England doesn't have the horses to pull that off, then why did Danny Amendola suddenly look like the combination of Gronkowski and Jason Witten and, listen, Shannon Sharp and the list goes, the great tight ends. Not that Amendola was playing tight end, but I'm just saying it looked like that the way he was patrolling the middle of the field. Why didn't you stop him? Because Brady, that's why. He's just so great, y'all. There's just no way to deny it. The man is phenomenal. I mean, when you I think about that movie Glengarry Glen Ross with Alec Baldwin. And he sat up there and he's talking about always be closing. Tom Brady closes. It's what he does. It's the reason the New England Patriots are in yet another Super Bowl. The 8th with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. 8. By the way, Nick Foles didn't have to close at all. Minnesota sorted that.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
Let's point to a couple of things here before I forget. Number one, the Patriots scored, pulled it within 14-10, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're up 14-10, but they get the ball back with about 55 seconds left. That was the first time all season long any team in the NFL took a knee with that much time left in a half. First time all year long. All year long. 55 seconds left, they took a knee going into halftime. That's number one. And number two, what about that third and 18? 3rd and 18. And Tom Brady connected with Amendola for a 20-yarder with about, what was it? About over 10 minutes left or so. I mean, I don't have the exact play-by-play in front of me, but those are the kind of things that I'm looking at. Those are the kind of things I'm paying attention to. Because these are the kind of things that contributed to the demise of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But who better to highlight it? I couldn't wait to hear from my buddy. Because, listen, bottom line is this. I have been saved. I was on the record coming in saying, I don't want to see a Super Bowl with Blake Bortles versus Case Keenum or Nick Foles. I absolutely, positively do not deserve that. Now we got a Super Bowl that I don't mind seeing because Tom Brady's going to be in it. Not that I would want him normally there. I'm a New Yorker. I ain't root for anybody in Boston, but greatness is greatness. I would have preferred to see Drew Brees, even if it was against Tom Brady, or a rematch of Atlanta versus New England, but that wasn't to be. But I damn sure didn't want to see Case Keenum, Nick Foles, and Nick Foles against Blake Bortles. I did not want to see that. That'd have been the lowest rated Super Bowl in history. So I prayed before yesterday's game that New England won. I prayed that New England got it done, that Tom Brady would be in the Super Bowl. And it happened. So I'm happy about that. I imagine there are plenty of people that are not happy about it at all. And none more so, in terms of unhappiness we're talking about here, none more so than my first caller, formerly Carlton from Massachusetts, now Carlton, who is retired in Tampa. Obviously, the sun has not shined upon him. Carlton, the floor is yours, buddy. How you doing?
Stephen A., you are a smart man, but you have become a Patriots apologist. You are on Robert Kraft's Christmas card list. I know it. I'm going to prove it. But let me give you the absurdities just in the fourth quarter that happened in yesterday's game, okay?
Go ahead.
Miles Jack, at 13:37 of the fourth quarter, was ruled incorrectly down by the refs after the fumble recovery when he wasn't touched at all by Dion Lewis. That would have made the game 27-10 Jaguars because he was unobstructed for the touchdown after that. There was a blatant pass interference call on Patrick Chung at the what mark here? It's at the I don't have the mark, but anyway, Mercedes Lewis. Oh yes, I do. At the 13 mark of the fourth quarter, killing a Jags fourth quarter drive. There was a blatant, uncalled Cameron Fleming hold on Marcel Darius on the third down and 18 completion by Brady, which extended a Patriots drive. That was at the 10:41 mark of Q4. And then at 6:21 of the fourth quarter, there was a second blatant pass interference call on Chung on Mercedes Lewis. Another uncalled.
That one was blatant. There's no question that Chung.
Blatant,
I don't know about both of them, but one of them was. That Chung on Mercedes Lewis, that definitely was blatant. I'll give you that.
Two of them were, and they killed Jags' fourth quarter drive, Stephen A. They basically took possessions away from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the refs just handed this victory to the New England Patriots on a silver platter. We're not even talking about the bogus Bouye pass interference call at the end of the second quarter, which you, Max, and Ryan Clark all said was garbage on your First Take program. We're not even talking about the blatant face masking penalty on Malcolm Butler at the 5:10 mark of Q1 when he hauled down Marquise Lee by his face mask after an incompleted pass. I mean, this is just absurd. One penalty on the Patriots for 10 yards. 6 penalties on the Jaguars for 98 yards. I told you on Friday that was exactly what was going to happen. 3 penalties on the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary, none on the Patriots secondary. It is a joke, Stephen A. It is such a joke. We got articles all over Pro Football Talk talking about it. We got commentators talking about it. The NFL is becoming an absurd joke. And if they don't clean this up, people are going to stop watching.
They're not going to stop watching. Come on now. I
mean, the fix is in, my friend. Go and look at how many comments about the fix being in from everywhere in the country. Not from just Patriots haters like Carlton in Tampa. From everybody. This is nonsense, Stephen A., and everybody is getting to see it.
I got you. I understand you're a bit frustrated, Carlton. I can't blame you because there was one penalty for 10 yards for the entire game for the New England Patriots. That does leave you scratching your head saying, damn, I mean, they really got away with you.
Stephen A., in the last 5 games when the Patriots were on death door after they lost to the Dolphins and they were at risk of losing home field advantage, the Patriots have been called for 110 yards in penalties. Their opponents have been called for 390 yards in penalties, had 2 touchdowns reversed, had a 4th down stop reversed, had a Patriots 4th down punt reversed. It's a joke, Stephen A. It's a joke.
Well, thank you for the call, Carlton. I appreciate it. Listen, let me tell y'all something right now. Here's my attitude. Bill Belichick's doing something right. Now, I watched the game and I saw 99% of what Carlton just highlighted is absolutely true. That was a face mask that should have been called on Malcolm Butler. No doubt about it. All of it's true. All of it's true. I totally get it. I understand it. But for some reason, Bill Belichick knows things that a lot of his contemporaries just don't know. Listen, how is it that y'all can't figure this out? How is it that you can't figure this out? Certainly there are penalties. The Patriots clearly should have been called for more than 1 penalty for 10 yards during the game. But maybe, just maybe, it's going back to what I told y'all. I told y'all if Tom Brady wasn't in this, I came into the show Friday and Thursday and I said, Tom Brady is holding the future of the NFL, the immediate future of the NFL in the palm of his hands. Because after the season that they've had, due to the Colin Kaepernick protests and everything else, I said to y'all, you need a good Super Bowl, man. You can't have Carson Wentz down due to injury. Matt Ryan gets bounced out by Philly. Drew Brees, a miracle, takes him out against New Orleans. Big Ben Roethlisberger and them can't get it done because their defense didn't show up for them against Jacksonville. In one weekend, 3 of those top quarterbacks were gone. Carson Wentz went down weeks earlier. All you had was Tom Brady. You know what? A Super Bowl with Blake Bortles against Case Keenum or Nick Foles, that would have been a disaster. So I ain't going to lie to you. I expected the New England Patriots to get a little bit of favoritism. I really, really did. I didn't expect it to be so flagrant, though. I really didn't expect that. But I'm not going to lie to you. On this particular day, I don't care. I really don't. I mean, I'm all about fairness and all of that stuff. Please don't get me wrong. But I just don't care right now because I could not take seeing Blake Bortles versus Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. I just didn't want to see that. I needed something better than that. And it happened. I actually feel sorry for Blake Bortles, by the way.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A Fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Look, I watched the Golden State Warriors, the reigning defending NBA champions, go up against the Houston Rockets Saturday night. And I must confess to you, I got real excited to see CP3 and James Harden. You got to remember, James Harden, just a game earlier, had come back from a 7-game absence. He was on a minutes restriction, 30 minutes. I loved watching D'Antoni say, damn that. We trying to win this game. And with 4 minutes left, put James Harden right back up in there. I loved that. And that big shot he hit over Steph Curry, it is what it is because James Harden is a superstar. It's just that simple. But the thing about it is watching CP3 play the way that he's played, I don't know about anybody else, but Chris Paul's an MVP candidate to me. When you look at the way Houston is balling, and you look at what the Clippers are without him, and you look at how Houston seems fit to go up against the Golden State Warriors, Golden State's still a favorite. I still don't see Golden State losing a series to the Houston Rockets, but I must admit I am intrigued. I can't front with that. I'm definitely intrigued. I can't omit that. I can't dismiss that. I'm definitely intrigued. It's important to point that out. But on First Take this morning with my man Max Kellerman, one of the questions that we asked was whether or not the Golden State Warriors or the Cleveland Cavaliers, which team was in more trouble. Max said Golden State because he considers Houston to be that big of a threat. I'm an OKC guy, but I'm not dismissing Houston either. I think the problem with OKC is their bench. That starting five, I think they'd be hell for Golden State. I really do. But you need to rest at some point. And the Raymond Feltons and Pattersons of the world and others, they got to be able to come through for you. And I'm not sure they can. In the case of the Houston Rockets, there's more depth, there's more shooters. And they can get into more of a shootout with Golden State than any other team. San Antonio, I don't know what the hell is going on with them right now, other than to say that Kawhi Leonard is an upstanding citizen and the Spurs are a first-class organization. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on anybody. But it doesn't look good when a player is complaining about the treatment he's receiving because he's basically claiming he doesn't trust your medical staff. That doesn't look good. But it's not often that we hear complaint about the San Antonio Spurs. And I can't think of a coach who's more protective of his players and their well-being than Greg Popovich. So you're not about to hear me cast any aspersions on the San Antonio Spurs. It's just not going to happen. You got to show me evidence. Other than that, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've earned it. But Kawhi Leonard earns it too. That's why we need to just mind our business and let's see it play out. Because this is an injury. We don't know. But getting back to the comparisons, I would tell you that the Cleveland Cavaliers are in a world of trouble. Now, let me be very, very clear, because I did Final Take today on ESPN's First Take. And I wanted my producers to play the Final Take for you before I really tell you what I'm trying to say. Before I get into the logistical issues involving LeBron, let me first tell you what I'm saddened by as it pertains to Coach Tyronn Lue for the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was my Final Take today on ESPN's First Take, which airs every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. This is my Final Take. Listen to what I have to say here.
Shocking news to report. LeBron James is not responsible for everything. He isn't responsible for the cold weather in the Northeast. He isn't responsible for some meteorite that appeared in Michigan just a few days ago. And he damn sure isn't responsible for the vitriol and diminished ratings that's been aimed in the direction of the NFL, courtesy of Colin Kaepernick's protest during the national anthem. But here is what LeBron James does harbor some responsibility for: the future of Tyronn Lue as coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Forget all the stats, the numbers, the visual displays that prove LeBron James is the best in the world. And please, please, please forget for a moment his generosity and social consciousness that makes him undoubtedly the preeminent role model in the entire world of sports, as far as I'm concerned. For a moment, remember instead that LeBron James is the self-proclaimed leader of a franchise that's been to 3 straight NBA Finals, who watched with virtual nonchalance as his marquee sidekick Kyrie Irving successfully demanded his way out of Cleveland, and that it is LeBron James who finds himself on a different page with owner Dan Gilbert, yet again, leaving the careers of others mired in stagnation. What exactly is Coach Tyronn Lue supposed to do with this bunch? You've got LeBron, who won't commit to staying in Cleveland past this season, a starting shooting guard in J.R. Smith struggling to score in double digits, a reserve in Tristan Thompson trying to learn how to be a reserve, a miniature scoring machine in Isaiah Thomas looking for $200 million despite being a defensive liability due solely to his size, and a coach stuck in the middle of all this, made even worse by the fact that his pseudo-boss, LeBron, isn't on the same page as his real boss, owner Dan Gilbert, which appears to be putting Lue's job in jeopardy. If we learn that Gilbert isn't thinking about Lue, that shouldn't come as a shock. Former coach David Blatt was Gilbert's guy, remember that? Not Tyronn Lue. Plus, Gilbert's vitriol for LeBron conceivably outweighs everything. So there will always be sacrificial lambs where Gilbert is concerned. But for LeBron to have anything to do with potential troubles concerning Lue is, well, troubling. Why? Because it means that in spite of his public vote of confidence for Lue, along with that of several other players on Lue's behalf, evidently the king isn't thinking as much about the position his coach has been put in as much as he should. That's not only unfortunate, it's sad. And it'll be even worse than that if Lue loses his job because of all of this nonsense.
That was my take in regards to Tyronn Lue and the role LeBron James may or may not be playing in all of this. I'll elaborate on that even further in a minute.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man,
I'm Stephen A.
you can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
By the way, that little diatribe I went on before playing my final take for you guys, that was brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. And before I get back into my point, I want to ask you all a question, or basically tell you something that you need to know. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. I played that final take for you because that's going to be the fallout potentially for Tyronn Lue because of what's transpiring with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe they've lost 9 of their last 12 games. 2 of their 3 wins came against the Orlando Magic, which isn't knocking anybody's socks off, obviously. And it's shaking the team more than anything in recent memory. If you go to NBA.com right now, look at my man David Aldridge, my buddy David Aldridge, for years has done an outstanding job covering the National Basketball Association. He speaks, you should listen. He knows what the hell he's talking about. He's got an article on NBA.com right now. It says, pick in Cleveland Cavaliers pocket makes trade possible and other things murky. Essentially that, if you remember with the Kyrie Irving trade, Cleveland sent Kyrie Irving to Boston. In exchange, they got Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Cizic, a 2020 second rounder, and the 2018 first round pick from Brooklyn. It's unprotected, which means the more Brooklyn wins, the less valuable it probably makes the pick. See, what happens is this. Kobe Altman is a rookie general manager for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if he wants to make a move to improve the team, he needs to give up that 2018 first round pick. The problem with that is he's got to get the approval of Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert, while not impossible and resolute in his unwillingness to let go of the pick, rather, he's not resolute with that. The point is, he's relatively defiant because his mentality is, why should I do a damn thing for LeBron James? This is what's going on in Cleveland. LeBron James is the greatest player in the world, who's been 8 straight NBA finals. LeBron James spoke to Dan Gilbert before the season began, when the Cleveland Cavaliers were interested in entertaining Kyrie's demands to be traded. LeBron told Dan Gilbert he wants to stay with the troops that we have. He's ready to go to war with them. He spoke out against letting go of Kyrie. Dan Gilbert wasn't trying to hear it because Dan Gilbert in exchange asked LeBron James, are you willing to commit to the next 3 to 5 years? And LeBron was not willing to commit. So Dan Gilbert said, damn that. If that's the case, we're going to fall apart anyway. So let me use some assets that we have available to us and go from there. And that's what he used Kyrie for, to get what he got in Isaiah, in Crowder, in Cizic, in a 2020 second rounder, and in the unprotected first round pick from Brooklyn for this coming June. And the reason why you see Gilbert playing hardball, and the reason why I wrote the final take that I wrote, is because Tyronn Lue is stuck in the middle of this garbage. So is Kobe Altman, the general manager. Kobe Altman is a rookie GM. He's a rookie GM. You got the best player in the world on one side and the man that cuts your checks on another. Say what you want about Dan Gilbert, but you can't say he doesn't cut the check. The man has given LeBron everything LeBron has asked for, with the exception of what transpired this summer with Kyrie. And the reason he didn't capitulate to LeBron's wishes with Kyrie is because LeBron would not commit. Now, LeBron is not wrong for not committing. It's his future and it's his life. And he steps on the court every day and shows you he's the best in the world. So we get that part. But the flip side to it is that LeBron is concerned about his future. And it's had a contagious effect on the rest of the team. Because while LeBron is worth over $500 million, And while LeBron has money out the wazoo, and while LeBron is set for generations and has all the power in the world as a professional athlete, there's a bevy of others with no such luck. J.R. Smith can't score in double digits barely to save his life. He's your starting shooting guard. Because he was perplexed and a bit chagrined that he was relegated to the bench once D. Wade arrived. Took him a little while to get over that. Still hasn't found his shot. Kevin Love's trying to adjust to being in the starting lineup, playing a 5 as opposed to playing a 4 like he customarily played. Tristan Thompson is a reserve, still trying to learn how to be a reserve because he never had to be a reserve before. Plus, he's with a Kardashian. Make of that what you will. Isaiah Thomas is looking for a $200 million contract or close to it, but he's 5'9" and he's a defensive liability. And if you didn't know that before, you damn sure know it after Saturday night. I hope he gets paid because the brother could play. And he deserves money because he's been underpaid for years. But we all know how this works. They use an excuse to lowball you, and they'll have some for him this summer. And then, of course, you got a situation where you got all of that going on and Tyronn Lue stuck in the middle. Because all of those different agendas are things that he has to maneuver through while still answering to a pseudo boss in LeBron and a real boss in Dan Gilbert who cuts the checks. And LeBron coming out, well, he supports Tyronn Lue. Oh, whatever. And I'm not questioning that he supports him because I know he does. I'm just saying it means nothing because it's not going to stop Gilbert from doing what Gilbert wants to do. And I sincerely doubt that LeBron James is going to cut a check for Tyronn Lue, paying him what Gilbert's paying him. So what you really, really need is for LeBron and Gilbert to get on the same page, but it doesn't seem like that's possible unless LeBron is willing to commit to Cleveland for years to come, which he clearly is not willing to do. That, to me, is endangering everything because Toronto is no joke. DeMar DeRozan's got a jump shot now. Boston is no joke. And God help everybody if they find a way to get their hands on Anthony Davis. God help everybody. That better not happen. They get Anthony Davis with Kyrie, and they keep either Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Look the hell out. I'm telling you now. And believe it or not, even though I wouldn't bet on them by a long shot, I'm still not going to summarily dismiss the Washington Wizards because I believe in that team. I just think that Wall and Bill got to get on the same page. I think there's too many individual agendas going on as opposed to a collective effort to just win. But when you are as dysfunctional as the Cleveland Cavaliers have appeared, hell, anybody can beat you at that point. And that's what we're witnessing right now.